My heart sank, a familiar, unwelcome flutter in my chest. I just wanted my damn cigarettes, but before I could even get to the service desk, a sweet-faced, albeit utterly determined, old lady had me cornered. "Excuse me, young man," she chirped, her voice surprisingly strong. "Can you help me find the purple flowers?" My brain immediately screamed, "Oh, for the love of not again." I'm Bruno, by the way, 25 average guy, but apparently I have a face that just screams customer service to a certain demographic. This time, I was decked out in my battle vest covered in band patches, a worn Megadeth shirt, and my heaviest combat boots. I was en route to a metal festival, mind you, and had only stopped at this brightly lit grocery store for essentials: beer, crisps, and those blessed cigarettes. I looked less like an employee and more like I was about to spontaneously combust into a mosh pit. But the old lady, bless her heart, wasn't seeing any of that. See, my day already had a weird vibe. At the main checkout, the blonde cashier, who was pretty nice looking, had asked if I was throwing a party. When I told her no, just stocking up for a festival, she then, with zero context, offered me a bouquet of flowers. I'd actually blinked at her. Thanks, but I'm more of a metalhead. Flowers aren't really my jam. She'd looked confused. I'd shrugged, paid for my groceries, and mentally chalked it up to one of those days. Now here I was, trapped. "I actually don't work here, ma'am," I tried, my voice coming out weaker than I intended. I gestured vaguely at my patches. "It never works." She just smiled, a gentle, oblivious smile. "Oh, nonsense, you look so helpful. And these flowers, they're for my granddaughter, you see. She just loves purple." She then launched into a detailed, if rambling, description of the specific shade of purple she needed. I sighed internally. Resignation washed over me. Fine, I guess I'm on flower duty. "Okay," I said, mustering a fake employee smile. "Let's go find them." We headed towards the floral section, which was naturally on the opposite side of the store from the service desk. As we walked, a new problem hit me. I'm colorblind. Not completely, but discerning shades of purple from blue or even dark pink? That's an Olympic sport I consistently lose. "So, which ones are we looking for?" I asked, squinting at a display of various blossoms. "The deep, vibrant purple ones," she insisted, pointing to a bunch that to my eyes looked suspiciously indigo. "Or maybe violet? I don't know." We played this absurd game for what felt like an eternity. I'd pick up a bouquet, hold it out. "These, ma'am." She'd shake her head, tutting playfully. "Oh no, dear. Those are much too blue," or "those are practically pink." It was genuinely hilarious in its absurdity. We were both laughing by the time we finally settled on a bunch that she agreed was the perfect shade of purple. We made our way back to the checkout, the old lady beaming, and I, surprisingly, feeling a strange sense of accomplishment. I even helped her pay for them, guiding her through the self-checkout because she was struggling a bit. "Thank you, young man," she said, her eyes twinkling. She then pulled one perfect purple bloom from the bouquet. "Here, for you. You were so kind." I felt a sudden, unexpected warmth. My first thought was, what am I going to do with one purple flower at a metal festival? But then I looked at her, so genuinely grateful, and just smiled. "Thank you, ma'am. That's really sweet." I carefully tucked the purple flower into one of my empty beer glasses, carrying it like a precious trophy. When I finally made it back to the service desk, the line had miraculously cleared. I grabbed my cigarettes, the clerk even tossing in a free lighter, probably because my flower-adorned beer glass added an unexpected touch of surreal charm to my metalhead persona. Walking out of that grocery store, the sun glinting off my patches, I couldn't help but chuckle. Who knew a quick beer run for a metal festival would involve a baffling flower offer, an impromptu I don't work here lady floral hunt with a lovely colorblind challenge, and end with me, the self-proclaimed anti-flower metalhead, proudly carrying a single purple bloom. Life's weird, man. And sometimes the unexpected twists are the best stories you get.
If you're still watching, you're clearly into this stuff. Go ahead and subscribe. I've got more stories just like these. Now, on to the last one.
The patient's dinner tray was getting cold, and so was my patience. I was already running on fumes, pushing a clunky cart laden with lukewarm comfort food down the sterile hall, when a sharp tap landed on my shoulder. It wasn't gentle, it was demanding. I sighed, the sound barely audible over the rumble of my cart, and turned. Standing there, blocking my path like she owned the entire wing, was her. Every single fiber of my being screamed Karen. Her perfectly coiffed hair, the way her lips were already pursed in irritation, the glint in her eye that promised a bad time. Finally, she huffed, crossing her arms. I've been calling the nurse's station for ages trying to find someone to clean my aunt's room. My brow furrowed, a dull ache already forming behind my eyes. I'd been on my feet for 9 hours, understaffed, and had already faced 3 minor crises involving spilled soup and a missing pudding cup. Ma'am, I'm Jasmina. I'm a food service aide. I deliver meals. I don't clean rooms. I gestured vaguely at my scrubs, the ones clearly embroidered with food services, and the cart overflowing with chicken broth and Jell-O cups. It seemed pretty self-explanatory, but Karen wasn't having it. Her eyes narrowed and her voice ratcheted up a notch, echoing slightly in the quiet corridor. Don't play dumb with me. You work here, don't you? Well, I pay my taxes, and my aunt deserves a clean room. Get in there and do your job or I'll have you fired. The words hung in the air, heavy and absurd. My jaw clenched. Fired? For not doing a job I didn't even have? Just as I was about to either scream or burst into tears, it was a toss-up, honestly. A familiar, calming voice cut through Karen's escalating tirade. Is there a problem here, Jasmina? It was my supervisor, Maya. A woman who had the patience of a saint, but the steel gaze of a drill sergeant when she needed it. Karen immediately pivoted, her fury now laser-focused on Maya. Yes, this girl is refusing to do her job. She won't clean my aunt's room, and frankly, she should be terminated. Maya stepped between us, her posture firm. Ma'am, Jasmina is part of our food services team. She's here to deliver meals, not perform custodial duties. Perhaps I can direct you to. But Karen cut her off, hands now gesticulating wildly. I don't care what department she's in. This is a hospital. Everyone should be helping. Are you going to just let her disrespect me and my family? You're just as incompetent as she is. I want to speak to your manager. Maya, bless her, simply turned to me, her voice low and even. Jasmina, please go finish your rounds. I'll handle this. It was a dismissal, but also a rescue. I didn't need to be told twice. I mumbled a thanks, Maya, and practically fled, my cart rattling a hasty retreat down the hall. I half expected Karen's screeching to follow me, but it seemed Maya was containing the storm. A few minutes later, as I was loading a tray into the dumbwaiter, I heard it. Not Karen's shrill voice, but the distinctive calm tones of hospital security, followed by a sudden muffled yelp of protest. Then, the distinct measured steps of someone being escorted. I risked a glance down the corridor. Sure enough, 2 security guards, looking incredibly bored but utterly professional, were guiding a furious red-faced Karen towards the exit. A wave of pure, unadulterated schadenfreude washed over me. Yeah, she definitely got what she deserved. Turns out, that wasn't the end of Karen's saga. Her poor aunt, mortified by the whole spectacle, requested a room change and even put a temporary ban on her relative visiting. And get this, Karen was apparently called by the police twice more in the following weeks for various disturbances in the hospital. Some people just don't learn, do they? Looking back, I probably should have just said, "Of course, ma'am, I'll be right there," and then walked off to do my actual job. It would have saved me a lot of grief in the moment. But honestly, the satisfaction of seeing her face as security ushered her out? Priceless. Live and learn, right? So, yeah, That was my I don't work here lady moment in the hospital trenches. A wild ride, but it definitely cemented my belief that some Karens just need to learn the hard way. Stay safe out there, folks, and remember, your food service aide is not your personal janitor.
You, what did you say to my kids? The woman's voice ripped through the peaceful morning air, sharp and guttural, startling the fish and me right out of our zen. My buddy Mike and I had just settled back into our chairs, reels cast, enjoying the quiet after a productive hour. Now, this lady, her face a furious shade of puce, was stomping down the trail towards us, hands planted on her hips like a drill sergeant. I blinked, utterly bewildered, then glanced at Mike. His eyes, already wide, found mine, communicating a silent, universal message. Oh, buddy, we're in for it now. It all started a couple of hours earlier. I'm Jasper, 28, and a weekend warrior when it comes to fishing. My old high school buddy Mike and I had been planning this trip for weeks. We got to the local lake just as the sun was peeking over the horizon, grabbed our day passes from the sleepy concession stand, and then hiked across a rocky path to our favorite secluded spot. The air was crisp, the water still, and the promise of fresh fish was practically tangible. We caught a few decent-sized bass before the sun was even fully up, our spirits high. Around 9 a.m. we decided to take a break, pull out our slightly squashed sandwiches, and just soak in the morning. That's when the calm got energetic. A small swarm of kids, probably between 6 and 10 years old, suddenly broke away from a larger family group further down the bank and made a beeline straight for us. They were a ball of boundless energy, all wide eyes and excited chatter. "Are you catching anything?" one yelled. "Can we see?" Another piped up. Mike and I, still munching on our lunches, gave them a friendly nod. Then the ringleader, a particularly bold kid with a mischievous grin, stepped forward. "Can I use your fishing pole?" he asked, pointing directly at my rod, already set up and waiting. I smiled, trying to be nice. "Hey there, fella. You actually need a fishing pass to use a pole here. Did you get one from the office?" His grin faltered, replaced by a slight frown. "Nah, but can I just try yours? Just for a little bit?" "Sorry, man," I said, genuinely. "Rules are rules. And besides, this is my gear. You gotta have your own." He didn't like that answer. Not one bit. Before I could even react, he lunged for my other pole, a smaller beat-up backup I keep in case of emergencies, usually stowed away. He snatched it up, reeling in the slack line with surprising speed. "What about this one, then? Can I use this one?" My patience, already thinner than a fishing line, snapped just a little. "Hey, put that down. You can't just grab my stuff." I reached out to gently take it back, but he pulled it away. His face contorted into an indignant scowl. "That's not fair," he whined, stomping his foot. "You're being mean. I just want to fish." He then proceeded to shout at me, a high-pitched, infuriating stream of grievances about how unfair I was being. I just stared, dumbfounded. "Look, dude, go ask your parents if they bought you a pass. If they did, great. If not, you can't fish with my stuff. Simple." His wails intensified, drawing the attention of his family. After a moment, a man I assumed was his dad, looking vaguely embarrassed, called the kid back. The entire gaggle of children, still grumbling and shooting me dirty looks, eventually retreated with their parents, leaving Mike and me in blessed silence once more. "Wow," Mike chuckled, shaking his head. "Some nerve on that kid." "Tell me about it," I grumbled, rebaiting my hook. "Guess we're the bad guys today." We went back to fishing, the earlier tension slowly dissipating. We even landed another decent-sized trout, joking about the ringleader kid. Then, just as I was about to cast again, we heard it, a large group approaching fast, their voices growing louder, more agitated. My stomach dropped. I looked at Mike and he gave me a look of pure dread. "Oh no," he whispered, "it's them, isn't it?" And then she appeared, storming down the trail, looking exactly as I described at the beginning of this story. She wasn't just walking, she was marching, radiating pure, unadulterated fury. She stopped a few feet from us, hands on hips, body practically vibrating. "You? What did you say to my kids?" she roared, her voice echoing across the lake. "You made them cry! You ruined their day!" I just stared, wide-eyed. Her tirade was a jumbled mess of accusations, unfriendly, unhelpful, selfish. I honestly couldn't make out half of what she was saying, but her tone was unmistakable. Mike, wisely, stayed silent, just slowly shaking his head. Then a man, presumably her husband, hurried up behind her, looking mortified. "Honey, calm down," he murmured, gently touching her arm. She shrugged him off, eyes still locked on me like I was a criminal. She asked me if I told her kids they couldn't fish. I finally managed, my voice a little tight. "Yes, that's what they said," she shrieked. "Why did you tell them they couldn't fish?" "Ma'am," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "I actually told them they could fish. I just said they couldn't use my fishing gear without a pass." Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean your gear? You're an employee here, aren't you? It's your job to teach these children. They want to learn how to fish, and you just refuse to help them." That was it. The absolute audacity. The "I don't work here" moment, finally arriving in all its entitled glory. My jaw clenched. "Ma'am," I said, my voice hardening, "I'm not an employee. I'm just another guy out here fishing, same as you." I gestured to my own pass clipped to my bag. "I paid for my pass. You're supposed to pay for yours and your kids if they want to fish." The color drained from her face, though the fury didn't quite leave her eyes. She actually sputtered. The husband stepped in again, pulling her slightly back. "Honey, he's right. We should have checked on the passes." She still shot me a venomous look, but the wind had clearly gone out of her sails. The rest of her group, who had been watching the spectacle unfold, started to look incredibly uncomfortable. Some of the kids, no longer shouting, were now just staring at their shoes. The husband gave me a quick, apologetic nod. "Sorry about this," he mumbled, then steered his wife, still red-faced and muttering, back up the trail. The kids followed, a noticeably quieter, shame-faced parade. Mike and I watched them go, then turned to each other. For a full 5 seconds, we just stared, absorbing the absurdity. Then a snort escaped Mike, followed by a full-blown guffaw. I joined in, laughing until my sides ached. It was utterly ridiculous, one of those bizarre encounters that only ever happens when you're just trying to enjoy a quiet morning. We eventually settled back down, still chuckling intermittently, but the tension was completely gone. We didn't catch any more fish that day, but honestly, getting a story like that was a far better catch. Some people just can't fathom that not everyone is there to serve their every whim.
Here's another one I think you'll really enjoy.